Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 456 of Ink in Your Veins. I'm Rachael Herron, and today I am here with Jessica Mehring, and this is such a fun conversation. I love to talk about a system, and we talk about setting up author stations to help your brain switch into gear. You're going to love this. We also talk about editing as you go and how sometimes it works. We talk about systems. It's just delightful. So please stick around for that. What has been going on around here? We're in a little bit of a cold snap. It's very cold, and I'm very, very grateful for the heater in this house. What else? I have been making a lot of bread and cookies. Oh, I made a delicious sausage potato stew kind of thing. It's definitely feeling like midwinter down here in the down under in New Zealand. I'm enjoying it. I'm still swimming. It's still bloody cold, and I still really love it. I just actually sent out my Patreon this month about swimming in the cold and how I have developed an allergy to cold. It's been there. It just got diagnosed. And how I am, and I sent that essay about how I am dealing with that allergy. And really, the essay is not about an allergy or about swimming, it's about fear. And what we do with fear. Do we listen to it? Are we stubbornly stupid? Is there a middle ground between fearing and not doing anything and doing something dumb? I don't know, but I do explore it in that essay. So that just went out if you're on my Patreon. You got that. What else has been going on? Oh, I was just on my friend Don King's show, and it was such a fantastic episode. Let's see, what episode number was it? It's episode number 73 on the Alignment Show with Don King, and you can find it easily by going to donking.com. That's Don with two N's, donking.com/73. And do go listen. If you have never heard Don's show before, he is just such a delight, and it was such a treat to talk to him. So thank you, Don, for having me. What else? Oh, in big news, as I am recording this, this is not true. And as you are hearing this, hopefully it is. I am opening my classes today. It is August 1st as I record this in New Zealand. So it's probably the 31st where you are, July 31st, as I am recording this. But if you're hearing this, hopefully I'm not a liar and the classes are open. I am teaching one round of 90 days to done and 90-day revision. Starting in September, first week of September, all of the information is over at my website. You can just go to rachelherron.com and go to the writers link, the writers tab at the top, or you can go to rachelherron.com/90, the number 90, rachelherron.com/90 if you're interested in 90 days to done, and rachelherron.com/revision if you are interested in 90-day revision. Here's the deal. This is my superpower. This is my superpower, is helping people do the work that they've been trying to do, sometimes for upwards of 10 years plus. I have taken people who have never written a book all the way through. I've also taken people who have written like 30 books all the way through when they get stuck or stalled or just lose motivation. It is a fantastic class. We have so much fun. It's small, it's intimate, it's a little cohort. We meet together once a week on Zoom. You get one hot seat in the class where we talk about your book. You get to listen to your peers' hot seats. And let me be really clear, in both of these classes, you are not critiquing anybody else's work, period. A first draft, much too new to be touched by any other human but you. Even in 90-day revision, we do not critique each other's work because you don't have that kind of time. You do not have the time to write a whole draft or revise a whole draft in 90 days and also be expected to critique other people's work. And I also believe that a first revision, aka a second draft, is also too tender to be looked at by anybody who is not a professional. So we just don't do that. So that might help assuage some fears too. What we do is we learn about craft, we learn how to do it, we learn primarily about mindset and process. And it is the joy of my life to teach these classes. And I am excited that I'm going to be doing it for September, October, November, those 90 days. And then I will not be doing it again until about mid 2025. 4, 5? Jeez, man. 2025 is when I will open it again. So it won't be open for another 7 or 8 months. So if you're interested, this would be the time to go check that out right now. So I thought I would tell you about that. And what else is happening? I think that's enough. I think that's a lot. I think that I want to finish baking these chocolate chip cookies that I have chilling in the fridge. Um, and they're going to be delicious. So let me give you this amazing interview. A little bit of a background on Jessica. Jessica Mehring is a Colorado-based author of contemporary romance, cozy mystery, and creative nonfiction, and she splits her time helping technology startups communicate without sounding like robots. She believes that story is the foundation of human relationship, and history and nature are our greatest teachers. She loves reading, walks in the woods, and creating and collecting art. She lives with her husband, 2 daughters, and more pets than she'd like to admit to, and her growing collection of books and office supplies are slowly taking over their house. Please enjoy this interview. May it inspire you to do just a little bit of crappy writing yourself, because that's all we can do on a day-to-day basis. A little bit of crappy writing that someday we will make a little bit better. So don't push yourself to do anything perfectly today. How about? Except perhaps enjoy listening to this interview with Jessica. Here we go. Well, I could not be more pleased to have you on the show. Will you please share your name and your pronouns with us?
Sure. My name is Jessica Mehring, and my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you reached out and we are going to talk about all things writing because you do a little bit of everything,
I
everything in the
do.
writing sphere, and you do technology, startup, communication, robot stuff, like without sounding like robots. How cool is that? Where and when and how do you get all this done? I'm dying to know.
That is such a good question. I'm still not sure. It's kind of like it's kind of like in the early years of when you have a baby and you're in the early years of having a baby and then having a toddler, but you're still functional. Like you're still doing all the things, but you also have this child and people ask you how you do it all. You don't know, you just do it. I kind of feel like that's that's a little bit of
Yeah.
how I operate is I don't know, I just do it. But also, I admit I'm very organized. I am very systems and processes oriented. I can kind of compartmentalize, I think, pretty well. So I think that's probably a better answer than I just do it.
Do you come by the systematization at the system? I can't say that word. And the compartmentalizing honestly, or is this like kind of how you were born, or is it something that you've had to put into place to support the way you are?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think a lot of it is in my nature. I like my routines. I like my processes. But because I do so many different things and I like doing so many different things, I think it makes me more well-rounded. It makes me a better human. I do have to create systems and processes to support the things that I'm doing for sure.
Do you ever struggle with getting things over the finish line because you are spread too thin? I'm asking for a friend.
I wouldn't say I have trouble getting things over the finish line when I genuinely care about a project, and especially if I have a deadline. I can push through, I can get things over the finish line, but I will admit there have definitely been times when I've burned out, and I didn't realize I was burning out. I was go, 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 going, and then on the other side, it was like, "Okay, I'm collapsing now. I did not realize I had pushed myself to this point, but here we are." That's definitely happened.
You have anything in place now to kind of prevent that from happening?
My husband.
Ah, very useful. Very useful.
Yeah, he kinda calls me out on it, when I think he sees it before I do, when am pushing myself that hard, spreading myself that thin, and all it takes is me saying, "Oh, I think I'm gonna take a little break after this project." He hones in. He's like, "Okay, that's my job now." And when I get that project done and I think about that next project I wanna do, he's like, "No, no, no, no. You said you were going to take a break. You said you were going to rest." And he's there
That's
reminding me
awesome.
of that commitment that I made. Yeah.
That is awesome because it is so natural for some of us, not all of us, but for some of us to finish a project and then swing immediately into the next thing to fill all
Oh,
of that
yeah.
space while forgetting completely about rest.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where, partners and friends and family and just supporters can really, help us, I think. This is as writers, we need that community, whether it's a husband or, like I said, a friend or family or a critique group.
Mhm.
Having that support system who, like, they get it. They know how you operate, and just having them there to remind you of those commitments that you've made to your own well-being, so critical.
It's critical, and we talk about it on the show quite a bit, but it is critical, and I'm always trying to say out loud that if people listening to this don't have any kind of community, it is time to start building it because it changes everything about being a writer. To be
Yeah,
surrounded by 2 or 3 or more people who can look at you and see exactly what you're obsessed by and support you on the good days and especially on the hard days.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so you do all these different things, and you said something really interesting in your email about author stations. Can you talk to me about what that
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, sure. So this is I only recently realized how unusual this is, honestly, but I write for a living, literally.
Mhm.
I am a copywriter. I have a small consulting firm, so I'm a copywriter and a content consultant for technology companies. I have a very small little team here, and that's kind of what I do for, my quote unquote day job. So I'm writing all day for clients, and then I'm also writing now novels, and I've written business books and creative nonfiction. I kind of do a lot of different kinds of writing. I'm also an editor. So if I'm not doing the writing for my clients, I'm editing my team's work or sometimes editing clients' work. I do some line editing for a publisher. So there's like different
Wow.
different
Yeah,
kinds
you
of yeah, different writing, different editing. And what I realized is that it was really helpful for me when I'm going to switch gears to move locations. And I've had offices outside the house. I've leased offices over the years, and that can be really helpful. But when I'm here at home, just moving from this desk to the one right next to me, or I have a little writing station in my bedroom where I have a recliner and a different laptop in my bedroom. These different writing stations, it's something there's something about moving locations that helps me switch gears. So, I do my client writing here at this desk that you're seeing me sitting at right now.
mhm.
I do my more personal writing, like essay writing and editing at my writing desk, which is right there next to me in front of the window so I can, gaze out my window longingly. And then at my writing station in the bedroom, that's where I do my novel writing. So after the kids go to bed, kiss them
Mhm.
goodnight, I go into my bedroom, I curl up in my recliner with my dedicated laptop, and I do my fiction writing. And it's like my brain knows, okay, when I'm in this spot, this is the kind of work I'm going to be doing. And it was such a turning point for me to be able to write books. Because when I'm writing for clients all day long, and then I'm like, okay, I want to write a novel. It, getting myself in gear,
Yeah.
switching into that mindset, getting remotivated was such a challenge, and I just physically could not do it here at this desk. It wasn't until, like, I had a different space here in the house, not far from where I'm sitting, but a different space, that it changed how my brain engaged with the work.
It and you can feel it physically. I have the same thing. I do my writing in the recliner right there. It is 2 feet away from me. I talk to people about doing, first drafting and revising in different seats, and it can be as simple as, I sit in this dining chair for this, and then I sit in, my son's dining chair to do this part, and our brains actually acclimate to that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible. I remember one time I was driving too. Oh, no, I wasn't even driving to. This is when it was proven to me. I was driving past my coffee shop where I always worked in the morning to do first draft writing. And I was going somewhere else, but the radio station happened to be on the same old jazz radio station that I only played while I was usually driving to the coffee shop. And as I was going on this errand, my brain switched into novel writing mode. And I realized that as I drove past the cafe, even though it wasn't a novel writing day, I was thinking about the novel and hadn't planned it. I was just, my body was ready to go. My body, my fingers,
Yeah,
my brain, everything was ready to go because I'd done all the things that I usually primed myself to do when writing. It's a magic trick. And especially
it
for, I
is.
gotta say, for people who are copywriters, which I think to me is the most intense level of writing that exists. I cannot imagine a more stressful, more high paced method of writing. And I've seen so many copywriter friends be unable to make that switch into their own fiction, their own work at the end of the day because you are exhausted and you have found this hack. Tell me about the dedicated laptop. What does that do for you? What does that mean?
So this okay, and I was prepared for your question about the kindest thing I ever did for myself,
Great.
which
We
is
can
like
go there now.
my favorite question that you ask your guests. And this is the answer to that
Oh,
question
great.
actually is after I published a couple of business books and a creative nonfiction book, but before I published my first novel, I bought myself a MacBook. Now I'm a PC gal, okay? I use my PCs all day, every day. I've got my
Yeah.
Android phone. Like I am a PC Android gal. But again, I was looking for those brain hacks, right?
Yeah.
And also trying to treat myself a little bit, if I'm honest.
Heck yeah.
I bought myself a MacBook and like this is my writing MacBook. I only do novel writing on this computer. I do nothing else. I do no client work. I was in
Oh,
graduate school for
yes.
the last year and a half. No graduate school work, only novel writing on this MacBook. And it like I say, it was a little bit of a gift to myself and also that little motivator to keep going, because if I'm gonna spend that money on something to enable my fiction writing, I better be doing that fiction writing.
And how cool is it that when you open that book, when you open the computer, the book comes to life. That is the computer where the book comes to life. I use
Mhm.
also a MacBook laptop, but I use it for absolutely everything. And you have it just for that. I think
Yep.
that is gorgeous and so kind. And and it's repaid you, you know?
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
I think that is beautiful. Thank you for that. What is the most exciting thing you've ever discovered about your writing process?
I think the most exciting thing is that this systems and processes brain that I have works for me in my creative realm too. I think we have
Mm,
this misunderstanding that you have logical brains and you have creative brains and never the twain shall meet,
right.
but I clearly have a creative pursuit, but my systems and processes brain really supports my creative pursuit in that when I started writing novels, and especially, I was looking at writing series, you got to start keeping track of things. You got to keep track of characters, and what color are their eyes? What
Yes.
kind of
I
car
was
do they drive? And yeah, and plot points, settings, relationships, and because of the systems brain that I have, I have created I've created my own little systems for keeping track of all of that stuff. In Notion, I use Notion for a lot of
I
things, and
love Notion. Yeah.
I build my book Bibles
Oh,
in
so
Notion,
smart.
and I have these databases that this is so nerdy, but Notion has a relational database. And so I have a database of characters and a database of settings. And I pull the database into my new book Bible and I filter by the characters that are going to appear in this book and I get
Wow.
really nerdy with it.
You have gone beyond my capabilities in Notion. I understand conceptually what that would look like, but yeah,
Uh,
wow.
yeah. So it's exciting because it really does help me just keep
Yeah.
track of everything. But I also genuinely love nerding out with my book world.
Yes.
All the little bits and pieces and making sure I'm not dropping threads um, and the red herrings are in place and the Chekhov's arsenal is all in place on the page there so I can make sure if there's a gun placed on the table in act 1, it goes off by act 3 kinds of things.
Right, right. Chekhov's arsenal. I really like that. What part of writing do you struggle with the most?
Description.
Yeah, me
I
too.
I
Ugh.
yeah, I have to work really hard at that. And I think it is because I'm a copywriter, because I'm used to writing very concise,
Mm,
every word counts. Dialogue and action tend to be much easier for me to write. It's just more natural. With description, I really have to work a little harder and think, okay, 5 senses. I'm going to bring 5 senses into this
mhm.
scene and really flesh it out. When my tendency is to write very lean and low on description, I have to work harder to flesh things out.
When do you add that in? For me, because I'm not good at that at all. I usually do that in a real late pass. Once the
Yeah.
scenes have earned their way, then I'll add description. Is that what you do too, or do you kind of make it happen while you're going?
I l I know this goes against a lot of popular advice, but I
Good,
do
I love
edit
that.
as I write.
Heck yes. Tell us about it.
Well, by the end of a book-length project, I am so done. Like, I never wanna
Mm-hmm.
see it again, and I know I'm gonna have to go back and edit it, so I want to know that by the end of my writing of my first draft, it's not gonna be completely painful to go back and edit.
Hmm.
So I edit as I go, so my second draft goes easier, and I know I'm not in for pain
Nice. Nice.
with that second round.
Yeah.
So with the description, I try to do my best in that first draft, but always in that second draft, I see opportunities to flesh things out.
Yeah.
I always see opportunities. And it also helps when I have my editor looking at it and telling me, okay, the pace is way too fast here. I'm like, okay, that's a place where I probably went way too lean on the description.
I could take some time with that. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. The other thing about having that copywriter brain and always having to think as lean as possible because you're trying to get the most information across in the best way, in the fastest way, I can imagine that would lend your whole technique to editing as you go. And I will say for people because I don't think I say this enough for people listening, if you edit as you go, and you are completing books that you're proud of that are publishable, then that is your progress, your process. That is a
Yeah.
fantastic process. The majority of people don't do that or they can't do it till later. They edit as they go and then they don't finish the book. But
Well,
you have demonstrated that this is your process and this is how it works. And God bless you. I want to be you. Like, I can't even imagine what that would be like to have a cleanish book at the end of a couple of drafts.
well, I'm not a fast writer because of it. I definitely take more time than some other
Yeah.
writers do, but the editing goes much faster.
And honestly, I don't know if you probably it all evens out in the wash, because
Yeah.
those of us who barrel through the first draft end up taking so long on the editing because it just takes
Yeah.
forever. So I think that our pace is our pace. We don't need to change it. We don't need to make it better or longer or faster or shorter. It just is what it is. So
Yeah.
I love hearing that. And I don't talk to enough people on the show who edit as they go. So thank you for saying that. What are you really good at writing wise?
I think that dialogue and action are really my strengths. I really do. Those come very easily to me, and, I don't seem to get as many edits back on those
Yeah.
pieces. Yeah. Yeah,
S
I feel like those are my strengths.
Talk to me about the writing action. What
Mhm.
would you tell a writer who's again, I'm asking for a friend, who struggles with action? How do you block it? How do you choreograph it? How do you think about it?
I definitely outline before I write. I'm
Mhm.
not a pantser.
Yeah.
I at least outline lightly. Some books I outline heavier than others,
Mhm.
but I really try to make sure I know what's happening action-wise in every chapter, every scene if I can. So that really helps. Also, I've studied quite a bit of script writing too, which I think helped. It
Yeah.
helped me just keep that pace fast. I think the flip side, of course, is then I have to work to slow things down.
Yes, because
So
script
I'm
writing is also lean and moves quickly. So you've got a lot of
mhm.
lean moving quickly, which can be really great if we want a fast-paced book until the editor says, "Oh my God, slow down.
Yeah,
Take it
like I
down 10
can't
miles
catch
an
my
hour
breath.
right here."
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is, of all problems, that's a pretty good problem. Let's see. We talked about the kindest thing, which is the computer, which I love. I love. Can you tell us about a specific moment that you knew you had ink in your veins?
Yeah, I've always known it. I've always been writing something. I mean, since I could pick up a pen. But I think where it really landed that there's nothing I can't write. There's nothing I can't learn how to write was when I
I
was in
love that.
graduate school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, and I went to graduate school later in life. I didn't I mean, I tried to go right after I got my bachelor's degree. It didn't stick. So I actually just got my master's degree in communication last month. I earned it.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you. Yeah, so for the
Wow.
last year and a half, I've been in graduate school, and, there was a good long time gap between undergraduate and graduate school, and I'd done copywriting, and I'd written, nonfiction and novels in the meantime, and I was looking at this academic writing, and I was considering doing this independent study which would require me to write a literature review at the end of it. And I had never written a literature review, and I'm reading other examples. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so intense. I don't know if I can write like this. This is so different from anything else I've done. And I had a professor who is so supportive, and she said, if you can write marketing copy for technology companies and you can write cozy mysteries you can switch gears and you can do this academic writing. It's just one more thing that you're gonna have to learn, and she recommended some books to kind of give me some foundation, which I, of course, devoured, and I wrote this literature review, and my professor was over the moon. She was in love with this paper that I had written and wanted me to share it, and she shared it, and, I actually had another professor say I needed to publish it in a journal, and I was like, "Okay, man, if I can switch gears that dramatically
Yeah.
and not have a heart attack in the process, I do have ink in my veins.
That
There's
is
nothing I can't learn how to write."
beautiful. I absolutely love that so much. And I believe that with all of your experience, the reason that they loved it so much is that you probably brought it to life in a way that academicians often don't. They have not learned how to do that. You have boots on the ground experience with what moves people in a commercial way, and you have boots on the ground knowledge of what moves people in an emotional way. And you were able to put both of those things together to do this literature review. I just can't even imagine. That's so cool.
It felt really good. I was very, very proud of myself.
Well done. May I just say congratulations on saying I was proud
Thank
of
you.
myself. We don't say I'm proud of myself enough. And I'm proud of you too. Well done.
Thank you. I agree. We need to be proud of ourselves more.
We do hard things all day long.
Do. Oh my
And we should
gosh,
be
writing is so hard.
It is so hard. So if anybody's listening and you have done any writing this week, please be proud of yourself. This is not something that normal people choose to do with their downtime. And it
Yeah.
is an amazing gift that we have. So thank you for that. Will you please tell us about the best book that you have most recently loved?
I have been devouring Deborah Harkness's All Souls series,
Is that
which
the witches one, the first one that
yeah,
was the
Discovery
Discovery
of
of Witches?
Witches.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I
and
only
I
read the first one
haven't
and then I forgot to read the next ones. Are they all good?
they are so good, and I haven't read that kind of fantasy in a long time, and that's where I started. When I was a teenager, I
Mhm.
loved science fiction and fantasy books. That's really where I started, and man, it feels good to be reading it again. But also, I have a bachelor's degree in European history, and her books
Ooh.
are just chock full of the kind of
Yes.
history that I studied, in college and now, have a degree in, and I love it. I love all the history and the fantasy and the love, and I'm loving it all.
I need to go back to her. Have you read Naomi Novik?
No.
She's fantastic. You should look into her. She's more Eastern
Mm.
European and unnamed Eastern European, like, might
Mhm.
be the old, might be Czech Republic. We're not sure exactly where it is, but yeah, Naomi Novik is a brilliant writer and everything she writes is good, but you'll
Just
see
wrote
the
it
ones I
down.
mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll enjoy. You'll enjoy for
Perfect.
your next dive into there. Now, will you please tell us about your most recent thing that you want us to know about and where can we find it?
Sure, yeah, my most recent publication is Firewall. It's a romantic thriller. I have my beautiful book
Beautiful
right
cover.
here.
Love that.
Thank you. Yeah, this is one of my traditionally published books, and, it takes place in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I was born and raised. I'm in Colorado now, so kinda going back to my
I
roots
didn't know you
there.
were a Bay Area girl. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm an Oaklander.
I
Yeah.
I rem yep, I've
Yep.
read a lot of your memoirs, so I know we have that connection, it's wonderful. Yeah, so it's a very fast-paced romance. I've gotten a lot of compliments on just how it pulls people in and they can read it very quickly at the end of a busy work day. It's a very easy book to read, hot romance, but behind closed doors for most of it. So nothing raunchy. Uh,
Fabulous. Fabulous. And where can we find you and what you're doing out there?
Jessica Mehring author.com is the best place to find all my author related things.
It has been a delight to talk to you today, Jessica. Thank you so much for being on the show. What a treat you are.
Thank you so much. This is such a wonderful conversation. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. All right. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.